This kind of an interesting fly. It's a John Bar fly. It's probably one of the most popular streamers they sell, I would imagine. But it's tied with pine squirrel zonker strips instead of rabbit.
I noticed pine squirrel has started to become a far more popular hare
Not
as opposed to rabbit.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is going to be pretty heavy. I'm putting 20 wraps of 20,000 lead on it.
You ever get hit with one of your flies when you got emergency?
I wear a batting helmet.
All his flies are sidearm cast.
Yeah.
You don't want even one of these guys to cast through the boat.
Yeah.
I don't like those guys.
Not through the boat, definitely not overhead.
Oh, it's overhead, it's his head. Sidearm, it's your head.
Sidearm
Don't
off the
get too
end of the
close.
boat. Sidearm off the stern or
Yeah.
bow of the boat,
Right.
not through the boat.
Right.
Okay, so I'm using a bigger thread here. This is
At least he pitches
140
the ball.
denier, would probably be, what's 140, 3/0 or something?
3-0.
Wish they'd go all one
Yeah,
way or the other.
I never can remember how to do the translation.
Yeah.
Well, 140 is 3-0, 70 is 6-0.
That, okay.
You get down to 55 is 8-0, isn't it right? 55?
I
I
don't know.
think it's 55 for 8-0.
70s works pretty well for most stuff.
Yeah, no, 70 is 6-0, so 90, unless you're getting under, if you're getting under 16, you don't really need anything smaller than 6-0.
Okay, so I got my lead. I'm gonna put in a wire here. This is, you tie this thing kind of like a matuka, kind of where you're gonna rivet, and that's what holds the wing down. So, and there again, I would normally coat that lead with some kind of head cement. And this is, they call it sparkle braid. I don't know what they used to call it. I've got a couple old spools of this stuff. I used to tie muddler minnows with it. But it's a real soft braided material. So I want to fill up this back area between the lead and where I tied my wire down.
Builds them back up to the lead.
Yeah, I want
So
to. Otherwise, I'd have a drop off there. You know. So and I'm going to bring my thread pretty much right up to the cone head. So this is a large cone head. This is a 4x long, size 8. So then I'm just going to wrap this stuff kind of with touching wraps. And it kind of flattens out pretty good. If you were to tie a bunch of them, you'd probably want to whack off about 8 inches of this stuff so you don't have a bunch of little pieces left over. Now this pine squirrel, it's kind of like rabbit. You kind of look, some of it is pretty thick, got a pretty nice profile, and then some of it's a little thinner. So for the matuka part on the back, I want kind of a nice full piece, and then the part that I'm going to wrap can be some of the thinner stuff. So when you kind of go through a package of this stuff, you kind of high grade it out. So I'm going to clean just a little bit off the tip here. I want to tuck that bare end up in that cone, tie it in close.
where's that other fly in the time?
It's gone. The chartreuse one, and you already said the first one.
Uh-oh. If it hits the deck, it'll be all over for it. Okay, so I'm just going to leave this thing long for now. And in order to wrap this, what I find works the best is I'm going to wet it so I can split it. Who knows what's in this? I'll probably die from some kind of carcinogen or something, but
We saw it.
you need to get it to where you can separate it. So I've got it opened up right there where my wire is. I'm probably going to make about 5 or 6 wraps of this wire through this to hold this thing down. Try not to trap a bunch of fibers down. And keep that squirrel hair right on the top. Then you can trim it. I probably want to stick out about the same length as the body length. I don't want it too long because then sometimes you get short strike that way. Okay, so I don't know if this will be in this, maybe in that. It's going to take probably 3 or 4 wraps of this squirrel to do the collar. Here again, I'm going to cut a little bit off the front. Stick it up in here and just catch that little bit of skin. And the tricky part is to get it to lay down as best you can instead of kind of going all over it. So you kind of have to overlap it a little bit. You kind of pull it back on each wrap. You want to pack it up into that cone. And tie it off right here in the top.
So George, I was kind of already see, did you leave a little gap between the cone and
No.
the wing at all?
No.
For that? No.
I mean, when I first tied it down,
Well, when you tied the wing in, was there any little gap between?
just a
there
little
for the-
bit, very little, yeah, because the more gap you leave, the more wraps you need to cover all that up. So if you kind of keep it pretty tight, and then as you go around, you keep kind of laying it one on top of the other, and it'll kind of let it lay down. Otherwise, it's going to kind of, it wants to kind of bush out. If you put your wraps side by side, yeah, it doesn't want to lay back for you. And I want to, and that's, see that's hair's packed up into that cone where it kind of comes in.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to tie it down and whip it off. You can tie these things, and they've got dozens of colors of that squirrel hair. Olives, blacks, there's the natural. And that's, yeah, and you know, this stuff, once it's wet, it's like rabbit, man. It just really moves, you know. You can tie them bigger than that too, but that works pretty good for trout.